Welcome to the first edition of Wrestle Talk with 3 Goofballs. I'm James, being joined alongside with Pat, and on the phone is Raistlin. And today for our first episode, we're going to do a kind of a award show type of deal here because we are just a little bit over halfway through 2018. So we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of do our halfway awards of the best superstar, the best female superstar, the best tag team, best feuds, and even the surprise moment that caught us off guard so far this year. And Raistlin, let's start with you. Go ahead and tell us what your feud of 2018 has been so far.
For me, the best feud of 2018 would have to be Gargano versus Ciampa. Really, I couldn't think of any good actual main rosters. I mean, I could have gone with Miz versus Rollins, but Gargano versus Ciampa has had a lot of feel, a lot of feel good, a lot of feel bad. They're two of the NXT best wrestlers right now. It's been said before that the best feud is with two or more guys who personally know each other, who grew up together in the business. So I think Gargano and Ciampa have really set the bar pretty high for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's actually who I had as the best feud of 2018 so far as well. Just the match qualities have been excellent. It kind of brought you back to the Attitude Era or the mid-2000s feel of what wrestling was back when we were growing up watching it. It was just really nice storytelling as well. It really got you intrigued on what was going on between the feud. And the fact that it's been building for over a year just really brought the intensity up on that feud as well. All right, Pat, what's your feud of 2018?
Well, my feud of 2018 would be Matt and Bray.
Matt and Bray.
Yep.
So give us a little bit of reasoning why you think that.
Well, mainly because it was really interesting how they started that whole back and forth with each other, and pretty much Matt and Bray for me, because I couldn't think of a better...
Well, the thing with Matt and Bray was, it was definitely known for the ultimate deletion, so that was a kind of a show on Raw where it was just really bizarre match. I mean, if you watched TNA, then you kind of had something to expect when they had that on Raw. But it really turned into them becoming a really good tag team as well. I mean, obviously the Raw Tag Team Champions going into Extreme Rules, defending it against the B Team. So yeah, it was a weird feud because Matt is a weird character and Bray is also that weird character as well. All right, so Race, when you started us off, let's continue the trend here. So, what was your match of the year so far?
Well, going back to the feud, it's got to be Gargano versus Ciampa. Gargano versus Ciampa won that first street fight they had. I can't remember if it was it a takeover before Mania. They really stole the show. They were the best match of the entire weekend, not just from NXT, but from WrestleMania as well. When you go back to what I was saying with the feud, when you got depth with your feuds, you're going to have great matches no matter what. I made two lists because when we were deciding how we were going to set these lists up, I don't know if we were going to add NXT into it or not, but I actually didn't have Gargano versus Ciampa on my other one. My other one was, if we were just going to do main roster, I had Miz versus Rollins, and so we decided to go with the NXT one. So that's why it's Gargano versus Ciampa for the feud, and Gargano versus Ciampa won for the match. The storytelling for that was so great. I honestly didn't think it was going to go on from there, because honestly I thought Gargano was going to get called up after that. And match had so many ups and downs, especially towards the end when Gargano and Ciampa are sitting next to each other, and then you think it's going to be a feel-good moment where they're going to kind of reunite and become DIY again, but then all of a sudden Ciampa tries to hit Gargano with his knee brace, and Gargano ducks it and puts him in a submission hold, and he beats him.
Yeah, I mean, the matches those two have put on so far has just been excellent. I mean, you and I are thinking alike. My match of the year was also Gargano and Tommaso, but mine was in specific the one that we saw right before Money in the Bank, the takeover in Chicago, just because it was a very brutal match. They were just beating each other up to no end, and it was kind of like they had a lot of ironic scenarios in there as well from the years past, when Tommaso turned on Gargano, and a lot of things where the roles were reversed. So I just think the storytelling going in that match, obviously the whole feud has been really good, but just the way the match folded out that night, just the brutality of it, the storytelling, and even the ending. I mean, who would have thought that Tommaso with handcuffs would have given a DDT on a bare wood from the ring, uncovered by Gargano, and just to end the match. I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised by that ending. And good matches, I mean, sometimes you got to throw in that wrench in the list that people don't expect to have a good quality match as well. Pat, what is your match of the year so far in 2018?
Well, as you could probably guess, with the Matt and Bray thing, it is the Ultimate Deletion.
And Ultimate Deletion, very good segment there on Raw. Why is that your favorite of 2018?
Well, just the way they put it together, I didn't think they would be able to just as good as they did over in TNA. And they did really well on that. I thought that they went really into the story, and they dealt action, storytelling, and quite a bit of funny moments in there too, with chair of wheels and mower of lawn. And it really threw a curveball how Bray came back after the Ultimate Deletion, with him tagging with Matt Hardy after the Andre Memorial Battle Royal. So yeah, I picked that one as my match of the year.
No, I have a question for both of you, and it's both of you have both said that it's time for them to drop the titles at some point so they can have the Matt Bray kind of move on his way and start going to singles titles, and potential brother Near coming to Raw. So let me ask you this: do you think the B team is the team they should drop the titles to?
Yes, I do. Cinderella story lives on.
So
I firmly believe that the B team has fully earned this. They've been the Miz's, gimps for too long, and like you said, Miz went to SmackDown, and the B team was left, looking for other people to follow. And eventually, they just went on their own, did good, one by one, knocking out other tag teams to get to this point, and then here they are facing Matt and Bray at Extreme Rules, and I think they win.
I like the gimmick they're going with. I really do. Like Matt and Bray, though, I don't think it will last long. Obviously, these two have been with each other for a while now, especially going back through the Miz Taraj and even before the Miz Taraj. I think they could drop them. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll have. I don't think they'll drop the titles until SummerSlam. I wouldn't mind seeing the B team win. I really would like to see them win. But I think it's too early. Of course, it's never really too early. I mean, you've got wrestlers who have won the title on their first night. For example, Paige won the women's title, Divas title on her first night, and then after WrestleMania. And I don't think they will drop the titles. Like I said, I think they'll drop the SummerSlam. I don't think they're going to drop them to the B team. I think hopefully, Creative will find something, and the Authors of Pain will be the ones to face Matt and Bray at SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for too. Authors of Pain would be the ones that take the titles from Matt and Bray, because I think the B team is very entertaining. I love their gimmick. I love just their personalities they bring to Raw. It's actually, when they come on TV, it's like one of the better segments of Monday Night Raw. And I just don't know. I think it is kind of too early. And I think Authors of Pain too has been on the unfortunate end of being lost in the shuffle. So I would kind of like to see Creative get something going for them and trying to catapult them into the title push.
Well, we've done Team of the Year, we've done Match of the Year. All right, Jim, so we've talked about Match of the Year, we've talked about Feud of the Year. Start us off with what your surprise of the year is so far.
My surprise of the year actually came at WrestleMania 34, and that was when Shinsuke Nakamura made the heel turn against AJ. I was not one. I know there were some people probably out there like, oh, it was kind of, you see it coming. But I, for one, didn't see it coming. I didn't think that Nakamura had the promo ability to become a heel. I didn't think that they would have used that kind of matchup, AJ versus Shinsuke, something that we've been wanting to see in the WWE for a very long time. I didn't think they would use that stage at that event to turn him heel. But I'm glad they did. I mean, it's really turned out to be really good for Shinsuke, although I can really do without the 40,000 low blows that he's done the past few months. But, I mean, I think it has helped his character. I mean, the no speak English, I think that's hilarious. And I don't know, I think it has helped him a little bit gain a little bit of an identity on his own other than the rock star of WWE.
My surprise moment of the year actually didn't come in the ring. It came outside of the ring, and that was when Daniel Bryan was medically cleared to return to the ring. I figured eventually we'd see it. I think that once his contract was up, if he was still unable to compete via WWE doctors, I think he would have eventually left and jumped to the indie scene, and because he was cleared by so many other doctors outside of WWE to wrestle again. And I mean, at this point, I think they kept him out too long, because now, from what I can possibly could happen, what I've been reading, is that Daniel Bryan still hasn't signed a contract yet. I don't know if he will. And his contract is coming up, I think, at the end of the year.
Yeah, his contract is coming up, and
September.
Yeah, in September, like you said. I mean, we haven't seen anything about him having a signed deal. So, I mean, if you're a Daniel Bryan fan in the WWE, that has to be kind of worrisome for you.
It definitely would be. I mean, I'm a big Daniel Bryan supporter, and I'm not going to say it's going to be devastating, because if he does go to the indie scene, we can see him there. Obviously, we wouldn't see him as much on the indie scene, because I mean, I follow like Ring of Honor, I'll follow Impact. I don't watch it as much as I do WWE. So, when it comes, if he does jump ship to go back to ROH, or if he goes to New Japan, wherever, I probably won't watch a ton of it. I'll watch a little bit, but outside of that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Daniel Bryan fan, WWE, like you say, I mean, if you don't follow those other companies as passionate as the WWE, odds are you're going to miss out on a lot of Daniel Bryan. You're going to miss out on the latter half of Daniel Bryan's career. So if you're a Daniel Bryan fan, you desperately want him to stay in the WWE for sure. Pat, what has been your surprise moment? I know, are you agreeing with Raistlin? Was that Daniel Bryan, or is there something else that really surprised you this year?
Well, the Daniel Bryan thing really did catch me off guard. It did. But one thing that caught me off guard even more is Seth Rollins losing to Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. Who in their right mind would have guessed that would have happened? I didn't. Did you?
No, I didn't. And it's when he came out to the ring, because he had the Seth Rollins Open Challenge and Dolph Ziggler answered the call. I was personally excited because I thought it was going to be Drew McIntyre. I was like, yes, Drew McIntyre is going to come to the main roster, beat Seth Rollins, get the title, and then the bell rang, and it was Dolph Ziggler instead of Drew McIntyre. So, was it a surprise? Absolutely. Wasn't it expected? No, not even close.
No.
But I like it. It took me a while to get used to it, because I was like, man, Dolph Ziggler, Intercontinental Champion again. I was like, this is the same story that we've had for years. But I'm kind of glad that it's happened. And Raistlin, what do you think on that? Well, how did you feel about Dolph Ziggler winning the Intercontinental Championship?
Well, I'm with you. I was really hoping it was going to be Drew McIntyre. He had unfinished business in NXT, and I was hoping he'd carry that up into the main roster. But I really didn't expect Dolph Ziggler to win it. I mean, you see these nine times out of 10, you see these open challenges. And the challenger never really wins. Honestly, I don't know I think this might actually be the first time a challenger has won an open challenge. Because I know John Cena has done an open challenges. The Miz has had a couple. Obviously, Seth Rollins has done a couple. Jeff Hardy has just started an open challenge. So from what I can tell, I don't know. I think this might be the first open challenge victory for the challenger. And I think this is going to set up to be a good feud. So far, it already has been. It's all going to culminate in a 30-minute Iron Man match at Extreme Rules. So I think this could be a potential. It could be a potential feud of the year. It just all depends on how things play out at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, I mean, they both have the in-ring ability to make it a potential match of the year. But, you know, one thing for me is, do they keep the title on Ziggler? Because, as, you know, fans around the WWE are kind of hoping for is that Seth Rollins gets that push for the Universal title match against Brock Lesnar and to be the one to take it from Brock Lesnar. Now, at least that's what I've been hoping for, because I really don't want to see another Reigns-Lesnar match. I know you don't want to see another Reigns-Lesnar match, and I can tell you for certain that Pat does not want to see another Reigns-Lesnar match.
I just want Lesnar gone.
So, I think that I want Seth to lose. You know, I like Seth Rollins, but I want him to lose. Let Dolph retain, because Dolph has been, he's been one of the superstars within the last 3 to 4 years. It's either he's a champion or he gets lost in the shuffle. So, I'm really glad that they're starting to use him alongside Drew McIntyre to make him relevant again, because he does have great in-ring ability.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing Ziggler lose the title, because if you think about it this way, Brock Lesnar, as of last night, as of we're recording this on a Sunday, so it's the Sunday after UFC Stipe versus Cormier, where Cormier beats Miocic, and Brock Lesnar enters the octagon. So Brock Lesnar has pretty much re-entered himself into UFC. So who knows if we'll even see a WWE Universal title match before he even fights in the UFC. I wouldn't honestly be surprised to see we don't. He'd probably wear the Universal title to the octagon.
You know, if he does, and this is kind of a side comment, but if he wears that title to the octagon, that would be worth the $100 to pay for the pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, we'd have to get together and we can split it and definitely watch it. That'd be worth it. But anyway, I don't. And going back to Dolph losing it, I'd like to see Dolph lose it, because another team I'd like to see. I'd like to see Ziggler and McIntyre team up a little bit more. Because as a tag team, they've done fairly well for each other. I like the Claymore kick into the zigzag, and I'd like to see them, if not the House of Pain, go up against the leaders of the world at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, you know, Drew and Dolph have definitely meshed really well together. I like their finisher, like you said, the Claymore kick into the zigzag. And one thing I like about them, too, is, you know, they were kind of in the same era as well, because Drew McIntyre's first run was back when Dolph Ziggler was still around, and it was definitely a different gimmick for Dolph Ziggler. But it's kind of like you take that era of wrestling, and you take, you know, two of the stars that were kind of on the, wouldn't say on the very bottom, but they were mid-carders back at the same time as well, because Drew McIntyre was an Intercontinental Champion at one point. So it's just really neat to see how they're using that to combine them. They're kind of like using the past. Say, you know, back when we were around, the locker room was a lot tougher. They never settled, and now the room is just kind of lazy and settling for the spot in where they're at on the card. And I like that attitude that they're bringing to the tag team division, because you can tell it's really working for them, and it's making for really good matches as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see another Reigns versus Lesnar match. But there is an upside if we do see another Reigns-Lesnar match. The upside to that is, and I read this online, so take it with a grain of salt. If they were to, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When Lesnar and Reigns fight again. If what happened at Mania happens at this next match that the two of them have, where fans are just booing, fans aren't into this match, Braun Strowman was made Mr. Money in the Bank, or as he says, Monster in the Bank. He was put in that position for in case of fire, break the glass situation of, if the crowd is booing, the crowd is not into this Reigns-Lesnar match, Vince is going to send out Braun, and Braun will cash in. So, sorry to kind of spoil that. I should have said spoiler alert, but that again, from what I've read online, that's what the plan is. Again, it's online, so you can take it with a grain of salt.
And Pat, you know, you were just mouthing that you agreed with what Raistlin was stating there and what he read online. So, you know, what's your thoughts on that, being Braun Strowman being the break glass in case of emergency scenario between another Reigns and Lesnar match?
I 100% agree. That's why they did that. They did that just in case, like Raistlin said, everybody was booing, and, you know, they wanted the match to end like last year's Mania, which I did too. And I think that Braun Strowman having that briefcase really, how should I say this? It gives them a backup plan.
Kind of gets them a way out.
Yeah.
It kind of, if, oh man, the crowd's booing again. They're throwing beach balls over again.
I know. Yeah, let's do this. Send Braun out there, have him pin either Lesnar or Reigns, and then get the title.
So I'm going to ask you guys this, since we're on the topic of another Reigns Lesnar match. I know that's a big debate in the wrestling world right now. Is, has the time already come and passed for Reigns to be the one to dethrone Lesnar as champion? Because, we all thought that, the whole build-up between WrestleMania 33 and WrestleMania 34 was Reigns beating Lesnar. Because, Lesnar beat Goldberg at 33. Reigns, beat The Undertaker, which really put him on the top of the roster, per se, beating The Undertaker. So we all thought, it's just a matter of time. WrestleMania 34, Reigns is going to beat Lesnar, take the title. But then Lesnar beats Reigns, and then Greatest Royal Rumble, which was pretty much a house show. Reigns spears Lesnar through the cage, and Lesnar hits the ground first, and a controversial ending to where Lesnar also retains. So do you think the time has come and passed for that to really happen, and the fans be like, for the fans to do something other than boo at this point?
I definitely think that time came and passed before WrestleMania 34. Because Reigns has lost so many times to Lesnar, and it's ridiculous how many title shots he keeps getting. It's like they're not. If you want to look at the way that WWE has their matches, or no, not really matches, but their rankings as for contenders, if you want to look at it in the way that they quote unquote should have it, or the way it should be, if you lose as the number one contender, if you lose to the champion as the number one contender, you go to the back of the boat. You don't stay number one contender. You don't drop a couple spots and a couple guys jump up. It's not how it works. You jump to the back of the line. Roman Reigns so many times should have jumped behind Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas. He should have jumped all the way back behind Kurt Hawkins at this point. Kurt Hawkins doesn't have a victory, and with his recent return, Roman Reigns should be behind him times 4, because he's lost so many times. And it's ridiculous how many times he keeps getting. And that's the biggest thing on why people don't like Roman Reigns, is because he's being shoved down our throats, because he's Vince's. Unlike what Roman thinks, Roman is actually Vince's boy, and he's slated to become the next John Cena. I mean, he's already being booed. John Cena wasn't booed by men, loved by women and children. He was loved by everybody at this point in his career. Roman Reigns has been here, no more than 5 years? Especially as a singles wrestler. And at this point in his career, he's being hated by a good majority of the fans.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of the men wrestling fans, but obviously the women and children love him because it's Roman Reigns. Like I said, he's slated to be the next John Cena. Another thing with WWE's whole rule book, I hate this ironclad contract that Brock Lesnar gets. I don't know why he's getting these ironclad contracts to where he can sit on his butt and get paid so much money and have to take away a title from the WWE universe. I mean, he's not only just sitting at home, not letting others compete for it, but he's also sitting at home with it, and the fans don't get to see it every week like they should. It's your main title. If you want to give him a title, create him his own freaking Brock Lesnar champion title, like Zack Ryder has the Internet Championship, and give it to him so he can stay with that and his freaking couch at home. I'm tired of it. I mean, you get, especially when you get guys that get injured and have to forfeit a title, like Finn Balor, for example, the first Universal Champion. He gets hurt, and 24 hours later, he has to relinquish the title because he's hurt. He came back before Brock Lesnar actually has defended the title. Brock Lesnar has been wrestling since Mania 34. But we haven't even seen or heard from him since Mania 34. I mean, we might have here and there, but
Well, we heard he was at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which happened in the same month.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But ever since the
That's
Greatest
right.
Royal Rumble, he has not been around, and that's the problem. Is that happened in what, April, maybe first weekend of May, and it's now July, and he's not even going to be here in the month of July. So really, it's going to be August by the time we see Lesnar again. So
We might not even see him before then. I've been reading that so far he's not a go for SummerSlam.
And that's what I've been reading too, and that's not good for WWE. I understand WWE, they want to sign him to this contract because he's a big money maker. He brings a crowd, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you really what this does is it limits what they can do. Because right now, the top title on Raw is the Intercontinental Championship. That's not good when, especially your rival brand SmackDown has the WWE Championship, which is held by one of the greatest wrestlers in the business today, and he's there every week doing what he does every week, putting on great matches, and defending it every month. And it really just puts a damper on Raw to me, because it's like, okay, your top title isn't there, so really your top title is the Intercontinental Championship, and I just think that just puts I think it definitely puts a sour taste into the fans' mouth, but it makes it hard to watch Raw, especially when it gets to that third hour, just knowing, where's the main title? It hasn't been seen since April.
Right.
So kind of going back to the awards here, I know we kind of fell off a little on that, but let's go ahead and talk about the women's division. The women's division has been really up and up as of late, especially the last 2 years. Really, the quality of the women's superstars have increased tremendously since, the bring-ups of Charlotte, Bailey, Becky, Asuka. So, Raistlin, we're going to start with you. Who is your top female superstar, women's superstar, through 2018 so far?
So far, it's got to be Alexa Bliss. I don't know how you could go with anybody else. If either one of you say Ronda Rousey, I'm going to hang up this phone and never talk to the three of you again, or the two of you again. You two better not have Ronda Rousey. She has had two televised matches, and she's billed as the greatest thing since frickin' sliced bread. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny that you say that, though, because, WWE on their Instagram story, I believe Friday or Saturday, they had, I guess the fan-voted top, things through 2018.
Yeah, I voted in that, and I saw it was Ronda. That's why I'm getting pissy.
And well, calm down there, Raistlin. But, no, I agree. I kind of got upset at that, too, because, she had two matches. She had one singles match, and she had a tag team match. Now, the tag team match at WrestleMania 34, it was good, but I think it was good because we didn't know what to expect from Ronda Rousey. She was new to the ring. Her first match ever was WrestleMania 34. But I think it really helped Ronda that she was in the ring with Kurt Angle and Triple H because, those two, they've been in the business for a long time, and they are used to the ring, or they're used to putting on good matches on big stages. So, really, that match with Nia is what I based it on, and was it a good match? Yes. I think Ronda is going to do really well in the WWE. I think she is a future champion of the WWE. But I agree. I picked Alexa Bliss as well because she just has it all in what you want in a champion. She has good ring ability, and she can cut good promos. Let's take, for example, the Moment of Bliss. Those were must-see segments on Monday Night Raw. Alexa kind of carried that Nia-Alexa feud going into WrestleMania.
I take Bliss mainly on the fact of she is the only real consistent. I'm not going to say she's the only real consistent, obviously, because there's Becky Lynch and whatnot, but she's the only consistent heel that has been, at the top of the food chain, so to speak. When you think of a heel champion, Alexa Bliss is the epitome of a heel champion.
Alexa came really close to getting the top spot, but I had to go with Asuka. Something about Asuka just this year caught my eye because all of her matches were really great. She kicked so much rear end this year, and every match of hers was good. I didn't have one bad match with Asuka in it.
Now, The thing with Asuka, though, you look at the...
Although with the James Ellsworth thing, that doesn't have my attention.
Well, we all know how Raistlin feels about James Ellsworth. He has 3 T-shirts of James Ellsworth and the new Elite action figure of the Chinless Wonder.
I think he's got the bobblehead.
I think you do got a bobblehead. In fact, I hear that James Ellsworth contacted Raistlin about the intergender title that has been floating around on the indie scene.
Yeah, he asked me about it. He said, hey, you want to defend this for a while? And I told him, who are you? How did you get my number? I don't know who you are. Leave me alone.
But no, it's like, Asuka is one of those where I see where you're coming from when you pick Asuka.
Yep.
But really, 2018 has been a horrible year for the Empress of Tomorrow. And, she loses her streak at Mania. She wins the Rumble. I mean, she wins the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. And she picks Charlotte Flair to at WrestleMania 34. She loses her streak. And ever since she lost that streak, she loses to Carmella because of Ellsworth. She has been struggling to really... I just feel like, for me, I wouldn't say she's struggling to make her name for herself. Obviously, she has a name for herself. But it's a different Asuka for me.
I think she's trying to find her way again through all of what happened with WrestleMania and James O coming back, unfortunately. I think after this whole charade is over, I think Asuka actually goes after the title again and actually gets it.
Asuka is actually going against Carmella Sunday night at Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
A week from when this podcast being recorded on Sunday night.
Yep.
So, Pat, obviously we're probably going to have an Extreme Rules prediction show here. Right. So, do you think Asuka takes the title away from the Princess of Staten Island, Carmella?
I don't think so yet. I think James Ellsworth continues to do what he does and interfere, and then they're going to have more stipulations at the next pay-per-view.
All right, so let's move on to back to the tag team division. This is a tag team division where it's kind of been falling off a little bit, and a lot of teams have been kind of lost in the shuffle, especially the new call-ups of Sanity, who's finally getting TV time, Authors of Pain, who has been doing job matches to local jobbers. So, Pat, let's start with you this time. Who is your tag team of the year so far in 2018?
Well, I actually have the Bludgeon Brothers. I have them mainly because when they came into WWE as a tag team by themselves, they were once in the Wyatt family, and then they kind of dispersed and fell off. But then they found this, and I think it worked really well for them in the end because, they're the tag team champions right now, and they did it really well coming up. Ran through everybody. Just, they finally got what they were, what they needed.
Yeah, I have the Bludgeon Brothers as well, and it's one of those things where I would have an honorable mention, but really, what other team is there in the WWE that could get an honorable mention? I thought the Usos, the Deleter of Worlds, that newly formed tag team.
The New Day could have been one.
The New Day could have been one, yeah. But the New Day, I think it's just so far in 2018, they're always going to be funny because they're the New Day. They all have good personalities. But as a tag team in the ring, I don't think 2018 has really been a year for the New Day. So, for me, Bludgeon, ever since they were formed as a tag team, they came out, they just dominated opponents. And, one thing that really, made me catch eye to the Bludgeon Brothers, was Fastlane. We all three of us were there in person, for Fastlane, and just to see them come out and do what they did to the Usos and the New Day was just like, oh wow, this team is legit. Eric Rowan and Luke Harper's finally getting that push that they've been long overdue, and they finally get the titles at WrestleMania 34 in pretty dominant fashion as well. So if you look at the Bludgeon, 2018 has been very dominant for them.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I'm going to be completely brutally honest here. When I first saw the Bludgeon Brothers appear, or when they were doing the vignette or whatever, when they first had their match, I honestly thought this was one of the cheesiest gimmicks WWE could come up with. But they proved me wrong, and they have just been, like you said, on a dominant tear. see any stopping them anytime soon, unless it is possibly sanity or you get them in a situation of a possible fatal 4-way match for the tag team titles. I don't see the Bludgeon Brothers losing them anytime soon. Like I said, unless it's one of those two scenarios.
See, I kind of agree with you there, but I have a bad feeling, and I just have this gut feeling that I think they're going to drop the titles to Team Hell No Sunday. And the reason I say that is because, Kane comes back, saves Daniel Bryan, and now they're making this big deal about Team Hell No. And I'm just like, oh no. Because, like Cassius Ohno would say, but I just have a bad feeling because, what's the point? If they have Kane come back, the build-up, they do all these past moments of Team Hell No from when they were a tag team back in, 2013? And they're just going to have them come and lose to the Bludgeon? I just have a bad feeling about this. And I think if they have the Bludgeon drop the titles to Daniel Bryan and Kane, I think it's going to be a bad move. Just because the Bludgeon just bring violence to the tag team division. And that's something that they've been missing for a very long time.
Well, I actually want to see Team Hell No win it because I want to see them actually get a good tag team feud going and stretch this one out. Because we haven't seen a good tag team feud. We've had the Usos and the New Day, but those two teams are always going to put on good feuds. The last good feud we had was something that involved the Bar, which, where's the Bar been? They got moved to SmackDown, and they haven't been on TV since.
No.
So
they've said that.
I think eventually they'll come in. They'll probably take over the SmackDown tag division as well. We'll just see where we go from there. I think we'll see them on TV before SummerSlam.
Yeah, well, I agree with that in a way, but they've commented before saying, well, the WWE doesn't have anything for them right now that fits with their gimmick, and I understand that with what's going on in the tag team world, and I think we'll see them again in the near future, though. I think we do.
Yeah, it's kind of like after they lost to the Raw titles to Braun and Raistlin's favorite, Nicholas.
Ooh, Nicholas.
God, I have so many favorites, don't I, James?
Huh?
Yeah, I have so many favorites to you that aren't actually my favorite. You said James Ellsworth is my favorite. You actually have gotten one right. The Iconics are a top in the women's division for me. But, you say James Ellsworth, you say Nicholas is a favorite. I don't think you really know me, do you?
Oh, I know you pretty good, and I also know that when Nicholas was picked out of the crowd at Mania, you jumped out of the couch and was cheering because you were like, yes, that's the childhood dream right there.
That's a childhood dream for that kid, not for me. I want my own childhood dream of being a freaking wrestling champion. No, but I'm a little upset with the way they're going with the tag team division now. The tag team division has been so strong over the past couple of years, especially when they're being led by teams like the New Day, the Usos, the Bludgeon Brothers back when they were still the Wyatt family. You think back to, I think it was SummerSlam a couple of years ago. Yeah, it was back when the New Day won the tag team titles for the first time, and they beat the team of the Wyatt family of Rowan and Harper. They beat the Usos, and they beat Kalisto and Sin Cara. Back then, the tag team division was lively. It was a good division.
It was must-see television.
Oh yeah. Now they're just kind of reduced to underneath the mid-card. I'm seeing more mid-card feuds than anything that has to do with tag team. You get, especially when it comes to Raw, and I don't have anything against No Way Jose or anything, or Mojo Rawley, but when it comes to wrestling, you want to put your titles first, and you want to build your mid card around that. Now that's probably not going to be best for business all the time, because you want to get guys like No Way Jose, Mojo Rawley, you want to get them some exposure. But when the crowd when the crowd isn't even into No Way Jose's music, they're not up dancing around. Some of them are. A lot of them actually still are. But one day they're just not going to do it anymore. It's the same thing that happened with Fandango. They were doing his Cha-La-La theme at WrestleMania when he beat Chris Jericho, and year and a half down the road, they're not doing it anymore, and he's sitting in the back watching the show because there's nothing for him.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, it's sad to see the tag team division get that way because, and let's make it perfectly clear, it's not that because they don't have the talent in that division. They have the talent in that division. I mean, you got the Usos, the Bar, the New Day, still a really good tag team. You know, Bludgeon, Sanity, Authors of Pain. You know, right now, for now, I mean, even the B team is a pretty decent tag team. So, I mean, really, there's so much potential for the tag team division. The WWE has just got to utilize that and start pushing the tag team division like they did a couple years ago.
You know what team they really need to give a push to? And this team, to me, is highly underrated, especially one of the wrestlers. I think one of the wrestlers is highly underrated. I think of the club. I think the club needs another good push. And when they were on SmackDown and they were in a match against they were facing the Bludgeon Brothers a couple weeks ago, or a team along those lines. I can't exactly remember who they were, but they put on a really good match. And I was hoping they'd win so that they could be next in line for the SmackDown tag team titles, but they obviously didn't win.
Yeah.
So I really like the club. I followed the club for a while. I followed them back when they were in New Japan with the actual Bullet Club. And in my opinion, he's a very underrated wrestler, and Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson is a very gifted wrestler, and he's not utilized as much as I'd like him to be. He could be a real good mid-carder. Obviously, he's not going to be a world champion, and he's come to terms with that because he was never a world champion in New Japan. He held tag team titles with Gallows, and it's nothing against Gallows because Gallows is a good wrestler too. He's a real good worker. He's athletic for as big as he is, and I just really think that the club is underutilized.
Yeah, I do too. And you know, the sad part about the club is their prime of the career was not even when they were tag team champions. It was back when they had AJ Styles as a heel feuding with Cena. I think that was the prime of their career when they really looked dominant in the WWE.
Oh, definitely.
So moving on to you got a remark on the last topic? So let's move on to the main event of the awards here, and that is the Best Male Superstar of 2018. You know, there's actually, quite a few potential people you can pick for this award. So let's start with you, Raistlin. Who is your top superstar of 2018?
I got to say, this one was really difficult. I sat at work for a good 15-20 minutes trying to think of who my male superstar of the year has been. And again, it was really difficult. You've got guys like Rollins, Miz, Braun Strowman. I went ahead and I went with AJ Styles. AJ Styles has been, to me, nothing short of phenomenal, to say the least. He has been on top of SmackDown for what seems like ever now. He doesn't always find a way to win when he was facing Nakamura, because obviously when they were in a singles match, just a rare singles competitor match, and they both Styles and Nakamura went for a low blow, goes down for the 10 count. But the match at Money in the Bank kind of really set it over the top for me. If that match wasn't what it was, it probably would have been someone else. Because there for a while, like we talked about earlier, I was kind of getting tired of of the Styles Nakamura feud, because all it was, like you said, James, earlier, was just a lot of low blows, and I was kind of getting tired of it. But I mean, you see that low blow that AJ Styles did to Nakamura at Money in the Bank to seal the victory in that last man standing match. That kind of brought it all around full circle for me. And AJ Styles he's like I said, he's been on top of SmackDown for well, again, what seems like forever. He's been I don't know if he's missed a SmackDown yet. And that to me is the epitome of a male superstar of the year.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think it's a clean sweep here. I think Pat has AJ Styles as well, and I have him as well. And, like you said, he's just been absolutely phenomenal so far in 2018. And, he's held the WWE Championship for a really long time. And, even with the Nakamura feud, people were getting tired of it, but just the way that he was able to, that last man standing match, just like you said, the kick that brought it to full circle. I mean, just he's able to tell stories and matches. He puts on excellent matches. Even the match against Aiden English last Tuesday night I thought was a good match, and just the way he's able to how he does things in the ring and how he does his promos. I mean, and the way the crowd reacts to AJ Styles. I mean, it's hard to argue that he's not the top star. I mean, I had some honorable mentions. You stated a couple of them. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. I mean, it's very hard to say, that you can't argue those are top stars as well, but the way AJ has just carried the top title of SmackDown, unlike Lesnar has been really great. And, I think he missed one SmackDown, and I think the one SmackDown he missed, he was actually in Australia promoting the event going to be there on October 6th. So it wasn't he just missed because he missed, he was there promoting another event for the WWE. So it's just, when you start making a list of what you want in a champion, you hit it right on the nail right on the head, Raistlin. That's who you look for. You look for AJ Styles.
All right. Well, I'm going to chime in on this. I do have AJ Styles, in fact. But you guys hit it right on the head. I mean, everything you said is true. I mean, like James said, he only missed one, and that was to promote WWE, that's great. And going back to the Lesnar thing, I think AJ Styles is what you want a champion for against Lesnar, who is the Universal Champion, which is essentially what the WWE Champion is over on SmackDown. And Styles is everything that Lesnar isn't, and that's great. And I think fans love that more than Lesnar. I mean, I know that I do. I know that you do, James and Raistlin. But that's obvious. But I think what they need to do is keep AJ with the title and make it past Lesnar's reign for the most consecutive days with the title. I think that needs to happen.
Raistlin, he brings up a great point. He stated that he wants to see AJ keep the title to surpass Lesnar's reign that he just broke not too long ago. What are your thoughts on that? Because, I hear, online, there are some people that completely agree with what Pat's saying.
Oh, I do too. I think that AJ really should hold the title for longer than what Brock has. I mean, I'm going to bring this up next week, and I'm going to give part of my list away. He's not in my top 10, but I'm going to talk about it now because it ties in with what I'm going to say with Brock Lesnar. And my honorable mention for when we do the show next Sunday, we're actually doing it live. It's not going to be live; it'll obviously be recorded. But we're doing it from Pittsburgh because we're going to Extreme Rules Sunday night. That Sunday night to watch it because we're 3 hours out from Pittsburgh, so we figured we'd just go see it anyways. But my top 10 list. One of my honorable mentions was Bruno Sammartino. And Bruno Sammartino, for those who are fairly new to the wrestling industry, he was a wrestler who wrestled a long time ago. Probably one of the better wrestlers of all time. Again, that's why he's on my honor mentions list. He is the longest recorded champion to ever hold a title in wrestling history. And it was, well over, I think, 10 years.
Yeah.
kind of like a combined total of well over 10 years.
Yep.
That's never going to be touched. And there's a big reason and why it's not going to be touched is because back in the day, you don't have guys that are wrestling 2, 3, 4 times a week. You're wrestling once a month, once maybe two every 2 months. So for him, it's not really his reign isn't tainted because he wasn't given all these opportunities to defend his title. To where Lesnar's just sitting at home collecting a check to sit on his butt. For me, his championship reign is tainted because he's not defending it in the current day and age. And for those of you who do follow wrestling a lot, and he beat out CM Punk, which caused a bit of an uproar. Obviously, WWE wanted to take that longest reign away from CM Punk because he's not with the company at the current time. And I get why they'd want to do it, but you do it with someone else, not with a guy who's going to defend the title once every 3-4 months at a time. I mean, if you want to send us back to the good old age of Bruno Sammartino, then do it with everybody, not just Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing about Lesnar, and I think a lot of people are very vocal about is it's another thing to not to have the title that long and show up every once in a while, but it's another thing when you show up like to a Monday Night Raw or something, and all you do is hop around the ring while Paul Heyman talks. That's boring. And another thing is his matches are not that great. I mean, Raistlin, you and I used to text this back. I mean, even Pat, we used to text this a lot. Back when he was fighting every month, is we would predict the order of the match. What would happen? Suplex, suplex, suplex. The other guy might get an offense here or there, and then you got a suplex, 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 and and then you hit one F5 and it's match over. And that gets old after a while, especially when you have. I mean, he takes 4 to 5 finishing moves from an opponent, hits one F5 and it's ball game. That's what irritates me about Lesnar. But I think if you're gonna have a guy be the ultimate longest reigning champion over CM Punk, obviously Lesnar's beating that. Why not Styles? This is gonna be a guy that people can look back 10 years from now and say that guy was one of the greatest in-ring performers that we have ever seen in the history of wrestling, and especially in the history of WWE.
I think it's going that way.
I mean, I do too. I think it's going. I mean, what do you think, Raistlin? Do you think it's going that way for AJ Styles?
Sadly, I don't think it is. I think eventually they're going to take it off of him because if you've been noticing here recently, he has been teaming with Anderson and Gallows when they're at live events. So I think it could be as early as next Sunday at Extreme Rules that he drops the title. For as hot as Rusev is right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rusev win. I don't think he'll be champion for long. I think they might continue this feud for another month or two after. But I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rusev win the WWE Championship just to kind of break up what Styles is doing so he doesn't run past Lesnar's reign.
So we're going to wrap up the show here, but let's do something called the one more thought. No, let's start with you, Pat. What is one final thought you want to end the show on?
Well, one final thought I'd like to get out there in the open is I'm finally glad that Team Hell No has come back. I mean, I think it was inevitable with Daniel Bryan coming back from the WWE. And, like I said, it was inevitable that Kane came back. He's still running for mayor over in, Tennessee. But I think it was good for them. I think they need to win on Sunday Extreme Rules. And I think they do win, and they go from there, and it'll be a big thing.
All right, Raistlin, what is your one final thought that you would like to end the show on?
My final thought to end the show. Man, I've got a bunch of final thoughts.
Well, you only get one. That's why it's called one final thought.
Yeah, I get that. It's a good thing we're going to make this a weekly thing because I've got a lot I can talk about. My final thought for the week is, James, you go ahead because I don't know.
WWE put more Extreme Rules matches, whether it be, a cage match, Hell in a Cell, kendo stick on a pole,
Punjabi.
Well, okay, even at this point, Punjabi prison match.
No, please, no, not a Punjabi prison. I will get up and leave the arena if there's a Punjabi prison hanging above the frickin' ring.
Just for you saying that, I hope there is, because I'd love to see you do that. That'd be funny. But at the same time, you have a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules.
Do it.
And out of the 8 matches, you have 1. And let's be real here. I think that match is going to be good. I think, Nia, like she said, she's going to, beat Alexa, and she's going to use weapons. She's going to, Nia Jax does have a mean streak, but so does Alexa Bliss. And that's going to be interesting, who has the best mean streak and can Alexa prevail against Nia Jax. But that's a different story for a different day. But my final thought is, WWE, please put more Extreme Rules matches at what you call Extreme Rules. This is supposed to be the night that WWE, for one night only, goes extreme.
All right, so my final thought for the week. My final thought for the week is when it comes down to you've got too much talent and not enough titles. If you want, like I talked about earlier, you've got so many mid-card guys that are being put before your actual titles. Add more titles. Back in the good old days of the Attitude Era, you had more than just a major title, a minor U.S. or Intercontinental Championship. You had the Hardcore Championship. You had the Light Heavyweight Championship. You had the European Championship. Add more titles, and especially add a Women's Tag Team Championship. That is what WWE needs the most. It seems like every other wrestling company in the world, maybe not ROH, but every other wrestling company in the world that has women's wrestlers, they have women's tag team championships. And it's about time WWE jumps on board. They talked before about adding cruiserweight tag team titles. Still haven't seen those yet. I'm still waiting to see what they do. Like I said, they need to add more titles. With the recent news of the NXT UK becoming a thing, they're going to add obviously more titles to that. But you got to focus on your main. You got to focus on your main card too. You can't just kind of push them aside for something brand spanking new, something shiny. You got to also keep your own current roster relevant. I get you want to build up other places. You want to build up other guys and girls that way, but add more titles. Add another hardcore title. Add like I said, add a women's tag team championship. Just add more titles, because that would make things a little bit more interesting. Obviously, they don't want to go overkill and add like 40 titles to where everyone's got a title, because then that's ridiculous. But add maybe one or two more minor. Well, no, add one more minor title to each brand of Raw and SmackDown. And add women's tag team championships, because that's going to also develop your women's wrestlers more. And you could go with, especially with teams of the Iconics, they could be a tag team. Becky Lynch and Naomi could be a tag team. Heck, Ronda Rousey and Natalya could be Raw women's tag team champions.
Yeah, I mean, the point, on your final thought, it's something that, you could have a whole show about, because there's so many different ways and options and opinions that arise when you bring about, they need more time, they have not enough time for the amount of talent they got, or they need more titles to make, more use of their talent. I mean, that is definitely a conversation that I think us three should have here on Wrestling Talk with 3 Goofballs in the near future, because that is a big debate right now in the wrestling world.
You know what they actually need to do?
What?
The WWE? They need to add a third brand. You know what brand that needs to be? ECW.
Yep.
I agree. But here's the thing with...
ECW.
Well, here's the thing with ECW, though, is to make it effective, I think what they're going to need to do, because, if the rumors are true that NXT is going to be going on Fox Sports 1 when that deal is finalized, that could take NXT's place on the network instead of NXT. And I think that's the place.
I don't think they do that, because if you want to look at it as, I don't think they'd add ECW to the network, because then ECW would be another branch of their main roster. So you could send guys like, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't send AJ Styles, but you could send guys who are on the mid card who could potentially be world champions. Send them over to ECW. Send them over. If you want to create a whole new brand, you want to call it World Championship. I don't know, something or other. If you want to create it, you create whatever you want, Ben. Create whatever you want. But if they do recreate ECW, which I really think they do, they need to do it right. They don't need to have a McMahon run it. What they need to do is they need to have the good old days of Paul E. Dangerously. For those of you who don't know this, Paul Heyman, he needs to run it. Yeah. I don't know if he would, because he with his current schedule, he probably likes his current schedule where he works once every 2 months or whatever, to just hype up Brock Lesnar. But I just bring back the good old days of ECW. You don't have to have hardcore matches, because obviously WWE is going to slap their logo on it, and it's going to be obviously a WWE production. And they don't want blood. They don't want this, that, and the third. They don't want bad language. I would like to see ECW become that as a trial run, because you notice as of late, SmackDown and Raw are having super low ratings. So what they should do ultimately is create ECW again, throw some wrestlers on there, let them be ECW of old, and look at where you give it 6 months, and look at where they're at. After 6 months, look at the ratings, compare the ratings between the three brands, and obviously if you see that ECW is getting more ratings, more views per week, more pay-per-view. Well, if you're still buying pay-per-views, you're ridiculous by the network. But if you're for those who still buy pay-per-views, you're going to see, in my opinion, I would definitely watch ECW all the time for that. You're going to see, obviously, it's going to be different, no matter what, because if you bring back the ECW old, you're going to get the old wrestling fans who, if they turned away, or if they're kind of upset with the way that things are going right now, and it's family friendly. And there's nothing wrong with family friendly. I completely get it. Best for business. Get kids watching. Make ECW that TV 14 that the Attitude Era was. Let there be blood. Let there be minimal swearing.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that's, do I think we're going to see that in the near future? No. But no. I would love to see that. I think, like you said, it would have to be TV 14. It doesn't need the swearing, but I think, you're going to have a minimal blood just because of the nature of what ECW was.
In the name
ECW. But, I mean, it could work. I mean, if you put a guy like Bray Wyatt as your lead head runner of ECW and, just kind of file down the guys that could fit under the extreme scenarios, I mean, that could be must-see television for the WWE, and it could boost their ratings. And like you said, 6 months, I mean, see where it goes. I mean, if it goes bad, fine, end it. If it goes great, then go. Go with it and see what it does.
Go with it, and if you want to keep it, keep it. If not, if after the 6 months, if it does better than Raw and SmackDown, and you want to keep ECW for those stats, for those numbers, keep it. If not, get rid of it, and then push Raw and SmackDown as TV 14. But don't give it a 6 month test run, and it be off the charts than what any wrestling show has been in the past, 10 years. Don't just squash those numbers and go back to family friendly, because that's not only best business, because you would lose more fans that way.
Yeah, and I totally agree. It's something that if they're going to do it, they need to be committed to it until it proves that it fails. I completely agree with that, and maybe we'll see that whenever Vince McMahon, when the next person behind Vince takes over, maybe we'll see that to see what happens. But that is definitely a topic that I'm sure not only the three of us are bringing up for sure.
Thank you for joining us for the first episode of Wrestle Talk with 3 Goofballs. Join us next time as we're going to give our Extreme Rules predictions. And also, next week, we're also going to give our top 10 wrestlers of all time. So be sure to tune in for that one as well. I'm James alongside Pat and Raistlin. Thank you for tuning in and catch you next week.